Welcome to Whispers and Confessions. There might be a twist waiting, so please make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's begin right away.
Hi there. I'm Janet. At 63, I was certain my life and my marriage were completely figured out. I thought I knew every quiet corner, every comfortable routine. Then, in an instant, everything I believed came crashing down. A simple slip-up, an open curtain, tore a hole in my quiet, predictable world and kicked off a series of events that forced me to face desires I'd buried deep down. What happened when my most private moment suddenly became a public show? And how did this one incident completely change everything I thought I knew about myself and my marriage? Stick around, because you won't want to miss a single word of this story. My name is Janet, and I'm 63. My husband, Mike, and I have been together for 40 years. Mike's really into his work. He's a sales manager at a big construction company, and he's just got a year left until he retires. I'm a stay-at-home wife, and I handle all the housework. Honestly, I'm pretty good at cleaning and doing laundry, but cooking? Not so much. Still, Mike always eats whatever I make without a single complaint, saying it's delicious. He's such a sweet guy. Sometimes he even suggests we eat out because he knows I must be tired. On weekends, we often walk around a nearby lake, and lately, we've even started taking a pottery class. Even when we make the same thing, Mike's pieces always turn out so elegant and delicate, while mine are, well, a bit more wild and free. But we always have a blast. Even with things running smoothly, I had this one thing weighing on me. It's not something I can talk about openly, but Mike had basically started turning me down in bed. For a few years after our child was born, Mike was super focused on his career, and I was all about raising our kid, but we still made sure to cherish our time together. Yet, somewhere along the way, Mike just started falling asleep without waiting for me. Even when I tried to get things going, he'd just say he was tired, and his attitude never changed. I didn't want to be a burden to Mike by pushing too hard, and honestly, every rejection stung my pride. So, little by little, I just gave up. When I stopped trying to initiate intimacy, Mike almost seemed relieved. But I definitely wasn't at peace. Eventually, I found myself turning to self-pleasure more and more often. That's when this deep sense of loneliness and emptiness really started to settle in. Mike is such a decent, kind man, an ideal husband in every way, but to feel so unfulfilled just because he wouldn't touch me. I started to think I was just being too needy. Still, up until that day, I found myself carving out more and more alone time for myself whenever Mike was out working. This vibrating massager my friend had given me felt surprisingly good, and before I knew it, I was using it for all sorts of things. At first, it really was just for my aching shoulders and neck. My friend had even sworn it was great for my lower back pain, which had been killing me for years from all the housework. But then, by pure chance, I discovered the vibrations felt incredibly good in my most private spots. It was an electrifying sensation, like finding a hidden switch that ignited me. One time, Mike came home early from work unexpectedly. I was on the living room sofa, using the massager, just like usual. The sound of the front door opening made my heart drop to my stomach. As soon as I heard Mike coming in, I quickly shoved the massager under a sofa cushion. Mike walked into the living room and casually said, "I'm home early." Work finished quicker than I thought. I tried to act completely normal, but I was sweating and could barely breathe. Luckily, Mike didn't notice a thing, but that moment of sheer terror stuck with me. From then on, I'd usually hang out alone in the living room during the day or late at night when Mike was out. And of course, I always made sure to keep the curtains tightly closed. Sometimes, I'd feel pretty pathetic doing stuff like that at my age, but after 40 years together, knowing my husband wasn't looking at me the way he used to just made me feel less desirable, less confident as a woman, even at my age. A burning desire still had a hold on me, but why was Mike always turning away? Then, one morning, after Mike had left for work as usual, I grabbed my massager. I settled onto the living room sofa, soaking in the sunlight, turned on the TV, and was just about to start my usual routine. I guess I was so tired that morning that I completely forgot to close the blinds. And just as I was about to hit the switch on the massager, I happened to glance out the window and saw a young man standing there. To my absolute horror, my curtains were wide open. The guy was wearing a delivery uniform, holding a package. As he walked toward the front door, he must have had a crystal clear view of me through the living room window. The thought that he'd seen me in my ecstasy, with the massager, made my body seize up. My eyes locked with his as he stood there, frozen, and I, massager in hand. He remained motionless, package in his grasp, as if time had stopped dead. His face flushed a deep red, and though he quickly looked away as our eyes met, in that brief moment, I felt his gaze travel across every curve of my body. His short, slightly damp hair, sharp features, and the firm muscles visible beneath his taut uniform shirt. The tight jeans showcased his toned thighs, and the broad shoulders beneath his uniform further emphasized his youthful, strong masculinity. His uniform, tight across his broad chest, hinted at the powerful physique beneath. Even through the fabric, I could sense the ripple of his muscles as he shifted the package. His dark eyes, though quickly averted, held a spark of knowing, a fleeting flicker of raw, youthful desire that sent a shiver down my spine. I couldn't help but stare at his youthful energy and vitality. It was captivating. I, too, was frozen, massager still in hand, utterly unable to move. My mind went completely blank, filled with nothing but, oh God, what do I do? I'd never been caught in a situation like that in all my 63 years. When I finally snapped out of it, my entire body was burning with shame, and I instinctively ducked behind the sofa. My heart was pounding like a drum, and I felt as though every vein in my body might burst. He must have seen everything, seen exactly what I was doing. A strange mix of humiliation and a thrilling, almost illicit excitement washed over me. This was a total disaster. I felt like I could never show my face in the neighborhood again. I just wanted to hide at home forever. But I couldn't avoid errands. Every time I forced myself outside, I just felt everyone staring like they knew. The constant anxiety of wondering if I might run into that delivery guy at any moment made each day a torment. At night, I couldn't sleep, my mind replaying images of his toned body and his flustered, flushed face. One time, I was coming home after getting groceries. I passed the usual coffee shop in our neighborhood, and there he was, Tom, sitting outside. I jumped, instantly ducking behind a parked car. Tom was laughing with his friends, sipping coffee, and he just stood out so much. My heart pounded, terrified he might see me. Luckily, he didn't, but I stayed hidden until he and his friends finally left. His youthful, vibrant presence stirred something in me again. "You seem down lately. Is something bothering you?" Mike would ask, concerned. But I couldn't tell him the truth, just mumbling, "I'm just a little tired," day after day. Mike's gentle touch on my shoulder or back would just ache my heart even more. His warm touch only deepened my guilt. I'm sitting here thinking about another man. Yet, at the same time, Mike started making small efforts for me. After work, he wouldn't go straight to bed like before. Instead, he'd come to the living room and sit beside me to watch TV, or sometimes he'd bring home a little gift, like my favorite chocolates. Those small changes started to plant a faint seed of hope in my heart. Then, one lunchtime, the doorbell rang again. Ever since that incident, just the sound of the doorbell made my heart leap out of my chest. "Who's delivering today? Please don't let it be him." I peeked at the intercom monitor, and sure enough, it was him. Tom, I remembered his name. I'd read his name tag on his chest last time. Suppressing the urge to run, I took deep breaths and headed for the door. I'll grab the package and sign as fast as possible to avoid eye contact. With that plan, I opened the door. "Delivery." Tom spoke in an even more formal tone than before. His deep, appealing voice sent a shiver through me. His eyes still couldn't quite meet mine, but even that slightly uneasy gaze stirred a strange feeling inside me. I kept my head down, avoiding his face as I signed and reached for the package. The moment his fingertips brushed against my hand, an electric jolt shot through my entire body. Then he spoke in a low voice. To be honest, I haven't stopped thinking about you since that day. At his words, I involuntarily looked up. His eyes were intensely serious, as if they could see right into my soul. His dark eyes seemed to pull me in. They shone with an undeniable, raw longing for me. No way. Me, an old woman like me. My mind went blank, and I felt my body stiffen, unable to process his words. His gaze was burning, and I imagined it slowly descending from my face to my lips, then to my neck. If I can be of any help, I want to help you. His final words felt like they saw right through to my deepest desires. Hearing that, I was so utterly shocked that I dropped the package. The thud shattered the silence. Perhaps jolted by the sound, he seemed to realize what he'd just said and done, and his face went white as he stammered, "I'm so sorry. Please excuse me." Tom bowed deeply and started to leave. His broad shoulders and firm back muscles were clearly visible beneath his uniform. My heart began to pound wildly, and as he walked further away, my own desires pulsed in sync. The youth and fresh energy radiating from his retreating figure just made me yearn for him even more. That youth and vitality, he could make me feel like a woman again. Watching him walk away, a mix of emotions swirled within me. Honestly, for a fleeting moment, I couldn't deny I was incredibly tempted. The surprise and thrill that he, a young man, would even be interested in an older woman like me, coupled with the sweet temptation that the loneliness I'd felt for so long from Mike's constant rejections might finally be eased. This young man, he might be able to give me true pleasure. Something hot and intense I couldn't get from Mike anymore. Sweet, dangerous thoughts spun wildly in my head. His intense gaze and trembling voice kept echoing in my ears. But I snapped out of it quickly. What am I even thinking? I can't betray my husband of 40 years. Besides, I seriously doubt this young delivery guy truly meant what he said. He's probably just messing with me after what he saw. As his figure started to disappear, I found myself calling out, "Wait." The moment he turned around, I squeezed out every bit of courage I had and said, "Look, please don't tell anyone about this delivery at my house today. I'm begging you." He looked a little surprised, a little regretful, then just nodded silently, turned his back, and walked away. His eyes held a complex mix of subtle regret and understanding as he passed me. His gaze stayed on me until the very last second. I closed the front door and just sank to the floor. Tears wouldn't stop. Why is this happening? I can't handle this anymore. This secret was too painful to carry alone. Should I tell Mike or keep it hidden forever? That evening, when Mike came home, he seemed to notice I wasn't my usual self. "Honey, what's wrong? Did something happen that upset you?" His kind voice made me unable to hold back any longer. Actually, I began, my voice trembling. I decided to lay everything out. "Mike, I have something I haven't been able to tell you." Mike quietly sat beside me and took my hand. His warm touch helped calm my anxious heart a little. He spoke in a gentle voice. "Whatever it is, I'll listen, Janet." Holding back tears, I began to tell him everything. About the massager, how I used it to comfort myself alone, and about being seen by Tom, the delivery man. I poured out all the loneliness and sadness I had felt over the past few years, and even the longing my body had experienced. My voice grew louder and louder, and overwhelmed with emotion, I burst into tears. After revealing my most shameful secret to him, a strange sense of relief, oddly enough, washed over me. After I finished speaking, a moment of silence hung in the air. I couldn't read Mike's expression, and I braced myself for the absolute worst. He might despise me. He might demand a divorce. Or he might just stare at me with crushing disappointment. All sorts of terrible thoughts swirled in my mind. But Mike slowly squeezed my hand tightly and said softly, "I'm sorry." His voice was thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry, Janet. I had no idea you were feeling so lonely." Tears welled up in Mike's eyes. He continued, "The truth is, I've lost my confidence lately. As I've gotten older, my body just doesn't move the way it used to, and I was anxious about whether I could still satisfy you, so I've been avoiding intimacy." I was floored. Mike was struggling with the exact same thing. We had misunderstood each other so completely. Surprise mixed with a wave of profound relief. At the same time, his honest confession deeply moved me. "But don't you dare worry about that, Mike. We've been together for decades, remember? What truly matters is our hearts being together." I held his hand and spoke gently, trying to convey my sincerity by looking into his eyes. Mike smiled a little shyly, then stood up and headed to the bedroom. He returned with a small paper bag. "Actually, I've been thinking about a lot of things too. A while ago, there was a TV special about marital life for older couples." He showed me the contents of the paper bag. Inside were a small cream product and a discreetly designed little device. They said this could help with intimacy for senior couples. Should we give it a try? At his words, my face flushed bright red. But at the same time, a forgotten sense of excitement and anticipation surged within me. Mike's eyes shone with such warm affection for me. With a face mixed with tears and smiles from overwhelming joy, I nodded. Could we really start over? Could we love each other passionately again? I felt hope blossoming deep within my heart. That night, our intimate time together began after such a long pause. The bedroom was bathed in soft light, and Mike's touch was as tender as if he were recalling every cherished memory. He softly caressed my body, exploring me like a lover rediscovering his partner after years apart. When his lips touched my neck, goosebumps erupted all over my skin. I surrendered to his embrace, yielding to desires I had forgotten for decades. Sometimes laughing, sometimes gasping for breath, we acknowledged the physical changes that came with age, yet together, we found new pleasures. His fingers danced over my core, teasing, igniting a fire I hadn't felt in decades. Each touch sent a jolt through me, a raw yearning I hadn't felt in ages. My breath caught in my throat, my hips rising on their own to meet his hand. The world just melted away, leaving only his touch, his scent, this incredible pressure building, until a wave of pure, electrifying release just washed over me. A moan slipped out, a sound I barely recognized, as every nerve in my body just hummed with incredible pleasure. My body arched, shaking all over, and then this amazing exhaustion just poured through me as the last shivers faded. Mike held me tight, savoring the moment with me. His ragged breaths and warm body pulled me into an even deeper satisfaction. We spent the night wrapped in each other's scent, becoming truly one. That night, we rediscovered our lost passion for each other, sharing a love that grew deeper and stronger than ever. The next morning, Mike grinned like a mischievous kid. "I'll fix the curtain rail today, so it won't be open again." While a mix of embarrassment and overflowing happiness filled me, I smiled brightly and replied, "Thank you, Mike." I could feel his deep affection hidden within his playful eyes. A few days later, Mike came home from grocery shopping carrying a small box. "Janet, this can be used with your massager. What do you say? Want to try it together?" His suggestion brought a blush to my face, a shyness I hadn't felt until 63, but also a fresh sense of anticipation. I never knew it would feel this good for my husband to initiate something like that. His eyes were playful, but I knew they held a hidden, burning passion. A week later, Tom, the delivery guy, showed up with a package again. This time, I felt confident enough to handle it. When I opened the door, Tom, as always, calmly said, "Delivery." Nothing seemed particularly different about him. His eyes were still alluring, but they no longer flustered me. As I signed, he quietly said, "I'm glad to see you're well." I smiled and replied, "Yes, thanks to Mike." My answer carried a sense of ease and happiness that hadn't been there before. As he turned to leave, He gave a slight smile and said, "Your new curtains look great." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. It was a brief encounter, but Tom's youthful freshness and charm were still intensely felt. However, my feelings now were different from before. Rather than guilt or indecision, it was a strange sensation, like recalling a beautiful memory from my younger days. This embarrassing incident was truly the catalyst that gave our marital relationship new life. Now, Mike and I have no secrets between us, and I can even be the one to initiate intimacy, saying, "Tonight," and most importantly, I learned how crucial it is to openly share your feelings and desires with your partner. 3 months have passed since then. Now, we have a special night together about once a week. As you get older, physical changes are unavoidable, but by embracing them and finding new ways, we've discovered new pleasures. Mike now joyfully talks about his retirement plans. "I want to spend a lot of time with you, Janet." His eyes sparkle like they did when he was young. Traveling to beautiful resorts together or making pottery in our class, new happiness is blossoming in our everyday lives. Our nights are still passionate, and our love for each other has grown even deeper. The curtain story has become a fun inside joke between us now. "If it weren't for that, I might still be unable to talk about it," I said. Mike just chuckled. "Timing is everything, darling. The important thing is not to be embarrassed and to express what's on your mind. Even after 40 years together, some things just won't be understood unless you say them out loud. Even as a married couple, your partner can't always read your mind." My loneliness and Mike's lack of confidence, the path to resolving both only opened up once we spoke about them. If I hadn't been caught that day, I might still be living with a lonely heart. Even an embarrassing incident can become a turning point that truly changes your life. So, if you're dealing with issues in your relationship with your partner, be brave and talk about it. Remember, we all struggle with similar feelings, and we all deserve happiness. The bond between spouses can deepen regardless of age. There's no need to feel ashamed. And always make sure you close your curtains properly. Trust me on that one. This has been Janet, sharing the story of her new married life at 63.